I'm your host, Anand Pathak, CEO of Fitsol. So, welcome, Aditi. Sustainability and climate action.
Thank you so much, Anand, for the kind introduction. And ESG overall is a very evolving field. In 24-25, we reduced almost 50,000 tons of carbon emissions. We went up to DRDO. We brought in their technology.
So, hi, welcome to 2 Degree Talks, a Fitsol podcast on sustainability and climate action, where we explore people, ideas, and systems shaping the future of climate action. I'm your host, Anand Pathak, CEO of Fitsol. So, till now, we have discussed on various topics related to sustainability. Today, our topic is something where we are telling how sustainability moves across from reporting into real operational excellence and executions. And for that, we are joined by Dr. Aditi Mishal, Head ESG at Welspun Enterprises Ltd. She has brought more than 2 decades of experience across sustainability, ESG research, academia, and I think she will introduce her better when there's an introduction round. But in those 2 decades, she has worked across climate action, circular economy, water stewardship, sustainable infrastructure, and stakeholder engagement. Beside that, she is also a GRI certified sustainability professional, a researcher, innovator, and thought leader who has constantly worked at the intersection of sustainability and implementation. I think what makes today's conversation, a really interesting one is we'll try to hear how whatever we have learned and whatever data we have collected in the first phase at the ESG, what to make use of those data in terms of the operational on the ground, and particularly in the infrastructure heavy environments where sustainability is no longer an initiative, but it also a part of the core business capability. Welcome, Aditi. Let's start from somewhere like a quick introduction about you and also about your journey and what was your first step towards sustainability and ESG? What makes you enter into this field?
Thank you so much, Anand, for the kind introduction and the leadership that Fitsol and you have taken towards these purposeful talks. And I think they matter a lot. Especially considering that sustainability and ESG overall is a very evolving field and it is changing rapidly. And when I say it is changing rapidly, it's not only as a field changing, but it is also transforming the organizations with it. And I mean what I say because I'm closely observing this transformation happening at my own organization, that is Welspun Enterprises, where I head ESG.
Yes.
So a little bit about me and my journey. The first time I remember that I gave a serious thought about sustainability was when I was looking for my topics for PhD. And, I wanted to do PhD in a subject which would bring good to overall world and not something which will only increase the knowledge burden for myself. So it had to be something which will bring value to people at large. So when I was looking at all of the topics, I came across a book called Green Marketing, and that is the book which completely changed my perspective when it comes to sustainability and ESG. So I started to think in a very broader manner. Of course, over a period of time, for the journey of those 2.5 years when I was researching for, PhD, where I looked at the Millennium Development Goals and then the Sustainable Development Goals, which happened after that in 2015. In fact, when I completed my PhD, that's when actually the discussion was going on around the UN SDGs. And I came across, some of the professionals who were part of the team which actually, drafted the UN SDGs. So it was amazing to hear, directly from them as to what the thought process was bringing those UN SDGs. And I think those UN SDGs to completely change the perspective on sustainability. Why am I saying this is it made the journey measurable. and monitorable. Till then, when we are talking about sustainability, it was all qualitative, yeah,
Mhm.
in terms of intentions and big talks and all of that. But no one was talking about it in terms of something that we need to achieve over a period of time. What what is that we would like to achieve, when we would like to achieve, and so on. So it was amazing to be part of this particular journey to look at how sustainability evolved over a period of time through these SDGs, and then now where corporate sustainability is becoming more serious. So that has been my journey all throughout, along with the journey of sustainability.
Great. I think we will also give a link to the book because that has kind of motivated you to work in this direction to start realizing this subject. Uh,
Sure.
but what has kept you motivated for this 20 years to continue working in this space? Starting was definitely, I think you learned from some of the best in the world. You heard from them and you liked about because previously it was non-measurable and it's something become which is measurable and that's why it's easy to track. But what has kept you motivated for last 20 years plus 2 decades in this field?
To be very honest, Anand,
Mm.
from very initial stage, just after my PhD completion,
Mhm.
and when I was with Symbiosis in
Mhm.
my stint as the professor,
Mhm.
and we worked very closely with MIT, that is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Boston,
Mhm.
and on action projects
Mhm.
for Kumbh Mela, which was happening in Nashik.
Okay.
And it was the year 2014, 2015.
Mhm.
And, a lot of projects were designed around how to make Kumbh Mela sustainable. It has to be green Kumbh. That is what the concept was behind it. And people were looking at various projects, and one of the projects which emerged was implementation of biodigested toilets for the sustainable sanitation, as a
Mhm.
sustainable sanitation solution. We went up to DRDO. We brought in their technology, and you may be remembering, or you must have even come across that became the technology for the sustainable waste management, human waste management in all of the railways after that.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was amazing to be, driving six very curious youngsters
Mhm.
for this purposeful mission of arriving at sustainable solutions for green coal.
Oh.
And that was a funded project by Ricket Kaiser and India Infoline. And so that project completely changed my perspective that sustainability is action.
Mhm.
So the basics, from the day one for me for sustainability was right that it is not just words, it is action at the
Mhm.
core. So that is something that keeps me motivated that, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to do, lot of gap that exists. So when you talk about the 2 degree talk, yeah,
Mhm.
to ensure at least,
Mhm.
we have the decarbonization action, sustainability action, which will keep us on the course towards at least 2 degrees. Yeah. So
Mhm.
is will involve huge action. There's a huge gap there. I think what keeps me motivated is the problem, which I see is also the opportunity to do good with gratitude for Mother Earth. So that's what keeps me motivated.
Very, I think with the vision and with the mindset that you have, it will keep you motivated for long because the purpose that you're trying to solve, it will take, I think the target is for another 30, 25 years, at least 2050 global goal. India, although
Yeah,
target of 2070, but I think with the effort of people like you and organizing good organization, I think we can achieve it earlier also. That quite possible.
yeah.
So
Definitely. We are optimistic about it.
yes. So coming back to now organization side, in your corporate stint, how you have seen the corporate or the Indian business evolve in their approach towards sustainability. I think it started getting very aggressive last few years, but there has been some corporates who has been working in this direction for last 10 years plus. But not only about one or two corporates, overall as an Indian business or corporate, how you are seeing this evolving in the way?
So I'm sure Anand, you will agree with me that
Yes.
the initial journey, it
Hmm.
all started with social sustainability and
Yes.
mainly talking about CSR and little bit about environmental impact assessment here and there,
Hmm.
and maybe a few environmental actions around that. But I think that comprehensive view that ESG brought in with BRSR being mandatory by SEBI, where the organization started very comprehensively reflecting first on what they have been performing in terms of the ES and G KPIs, and then arriving at okay, so what is the direction that we want to go after this? What
Hmm.
should be the ESG commitments or goals, and then how do we arrive at it? I've been very fortunate that I could witness that journey very closely at Welspun Enterprises and, in fact, lead it also in some sense or contribute my bit to it. Um, the moment I came in at Welspun Enterprises, with a discussion that I've had with the Honorable MD Sir,
Hmm.
uh, Mr. Sandeep Garg, and he clearly cut mentioned three principles that have been guiding me. He said one, that sustainability and ESG is no lip service.
Hmm.
So if we have to go that pathway, it has to happen in action. Otherwise,
Yes.
we don't go that way. So that was the first. The second thing which he very clear cut mentioned is okay, it has to be led by ethics. Because invariably ESG is it has to become part of the strategy, or rather it is the sustainable strategy going forward.
Correct.
And third thing which he mentioned is, but it has to become the organization-wide movement, and
Hmm.
that's exactly the evolution journey for any organization when it comes to ESG or the sustainability path that it is following. So
Hmm.
initially, it only starts with maybe okay, compliance ye karna hai, you know,
Hmm.
and then how do all of the ESG KPIs look like? अरे ये मटेरियलिटी असेसमेंट है क्या चीज है ना
Hmm.
and then what are those topics which are material to the particular organization. So
Hmm.
I think the initial journey is very reflective, and a lot of people, they try to demean sometimes the reporting and the disclosures, but I would
Hmm.
say any organization which does the disclosures and reporting sincerely,
Hmm.
only that organization can then take the right path of transformation,
Correct.
because that's the reflection journey rather than just the compliance journey for the organization which is sincere. And then,
Completely.
you know, so I said, if I have to make this possible, a lot of awareness has to happen within the organization, and it has to start with the top, because so many times we take it for granted that all of the leaders in the organizations are all knowledgeable
Hmm.
and they know everything in the world. But
Hmm.
they are also human beings, and they also need to be shared that input or knowledge, awareness about the different specializations or areas, and not to shy away from the fact that there has to be opportunities created for those learning. So we started something like the Executive Sustainability Strategy Lab.
Okay.
So this lab actually meant creating opportunities for discussions at the apex level and at the leadership level at all the departments. We brought them all together, then we facilitated these discussions with the experts, subject matter experts from the industry. We also participating wherever need be to bring in, especially the perspective of the Welspun enterprises. And this actually sensitized the stakeholders enough about the need, uh, that they have to think about ESG very seriously, and that this is the path, this is the true north for the organization going ahead. So, in fact, we coined then this term as True North Strategy,
Okay.
aligned to ESG and sustainability at Welspun Enterprises. So that
Well,
is how then from report things came to, then from intent it came started coming to the action
hmm.
strategy, and and now to the operation also after that. Yeah, over to you.
I completely agree. I think intent starts with reporting and self-reflection and putting it in datas so that it's readily available across the organization and even to outside party. And then only I think actions can be taken. Once you know where you're standing, where we are standing, then only we can take action. That's why it's important to do an honest report
True.
to start with. But having said that, I think you have worked not only in the reporting but also in the implementation side on the ground. You have worked not only in the boardroom but also at the ground level. So, do you think there's a difference between what we discuss at the boardroom level or at the strategy level, reporting level, and then it's tough to execute that on the ground? Or what are the challenges to implement that on the ground?
So in fact, Anand, suppose water starts percolating in one particular area and
Hmm.
there is a leakage. I'm giving a very not so good example, but that's what the process is. So by the time the leakage comes to the lowest level,
Mhm.
it takes a lot of time, and then probably the volumes would be completely different. Yeah.
Mhm.
So completely agreed that for the strategy then to be in actually getting implemented, there is still another huge gap there and a huge challenge there. So, like for example, I'll give you the case of we are looking at the renewable energy transition at this particular point of time,
Mhm.
and typically solar energy would require huge space for the solar panels to be put. You may be having options. You talk about open access, so whether you go for the open access kind of arrangement where you go only with the opex model, not the capex model, but then still opex also today has so many challenges. How do you share the energy which is generated in Maharashtra with the state, with the project in probably Karaikal, which
Mhm.
is the border of Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry?
Mhm.
It's not even exactly any particular state. Yeah. So then how do you actually make it happen? Yeah. So a lot of so the implementation requires a lot of detailings for a particular project, and
Mhm.
it has to make also business sense at the end of the day.
Yes.
Yeah. So I told very specifically the Apex team that for me, sustainability will be sustainable only if it makes business sense.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Come.
that was a very clear cut, principle that we have been following when it comes to arriving at these sustainable solutions. And particularly in some cases, probably solar would work better, but
Mm.
probably, a lot of cases it may not be suitable. Many of the times, EV may be a very great solution. In some cases, it may not be. So, EV is great when you actually purchase the electric vehicles for the fleet, whether it is people or for the goods. But when it comes to leasing EV, is not a very great business solution at this particular point of time. So there are a lot of these challenges right now that we are looking at. One more challenge that probably we can look at hydrogen, fuel cell
Yes.
technology. Yeah, we have all been talking big things about it. But when it
Mm.
comes to actual implementation, and that too, like in case of, the road project that we
Mm.
have, which is like a distributed site
Mm.
for a stretch, maybe 150 kilometers or 50 kilometers. How do you make it happen there? And
Come.
how about the safety at the site level and so on and so forth? So now then there are some solutions which are coming up probably that could be a better solution when it comes to construction power. Yeah.
Mm.
So there are a lot of these challenges around implementation, Anand, and I think whether we want to do it or not is not a question.
Hmm.
Yeah, but how do we make it happen is the real question.
Correct. Completely agree. So we also provide a lot of this. For example, most of our existing customer, they ask us, one of the low hanging fruit according to them is in transportation is EV. Can you implement
Mm.
EV here and there? And as you are telling, it's definitely in most of the cases TCO is not coming around. In that case, we want some of the support from the people on the ground or the management over there from the customer. And like, can you make a green corridor so that rotation time of EV can increase, loading and unloading can decrease. Such kind of initiatives, if taken at the ground level from the top to down level, I think in that case makes the EV project little bit more viable compared to the existing. If we compare with the existing diesel and CNG truck, it is not making viable if we compare with the same TAT, same corridors or everything. But if we give it a
Yeah.
preference in terms of loading, unloading, everything, then such cases comes out as a positive in which not only cost saving but carbon saving is also coming to a customer. Completely agree with you.
Particularly that you have brought in again the discussion around EV here.
Hmm.
So, looking for dumpers,
Hmm.
the backside, the back trail,
Hmm.
is a particular type of trail that we require as compared to the other trucks and the maybe trailers and these all options which may be right now available in the case of
Yes.
EV trucks. Yeah. So that itself is becoming a big headache at this particular point of time as to contacting then a very few OEMs into the EV trucks in India,
Yes. Yes.
and that too in that they have not looked at maybe dumpers as an option. Yeah. So these are some of the challenges. I think the challenge is in the details for the
Yes.
implementation.
Yes. Completely agree. So I think with the experience that you have, what according to you is one or two points that separates a successful companies who has implemented sustainability on the ground also with somebody who are just stuck at the intent level. Uh, so I think already you have told few things that its study should be top, bottom, everything should be aligned. But beside this, is there any one or two points that you would like to tell those organizations who are still stuck at the intent level? They want to do, but they're not able to take any actions on the ground. One or two hack you can say.
Yeah. Probably the first thing that they have to do is meet the top management and sensitize them enough about the requirement or the ESG um, stance
Hmm.
in the organization and
Hmm.
as to how it can do good for the organization as well as the world at large.
Hmm.
So how it is win-win-win for all. So if the purpose is set right, like Simon Sinek says, the why comes before everything else. So if
Yes.
they are able to clarify that why very well with the top management, I think that's the true win. Then everything else actually falls in place. After that, what will happen? I also say that after this, what will happen? There would be a cross-functional team which
Hmm.
would then work together towards understanding as to what would be our ESG goals and commitments
Hmm.
in the long run. Then you break down as to for the next few years, what is that the departments would take up, you know, KRAs or goals aligned to the ESG. And then those will be sitting in their performance appraisal also after that. So ESG is not a particular department's work. Yeah, if ESG has to be successful, it has to be the organization-wide movement. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for then that to happen, that cross-functional collaboration on ESG as a mission is very, very important. I'm sure the time that every organization takes,
Hmm.
the direction is clear, but then time to actually deliver results with that collaboration depends upon the culture that the organization has will be will vary, But I think once you are at least having the direction right, things should somewhere fall in place.
Thanks for your insight, the execution, what organization can do to execute and convert this intent into action. Now, let's target something which I think of late has started getting lot of traction is scope 3 and supply chain emissions. It started with scope 1 and scope 2, but of late, most of these organizations, they have realized scope 3 or the supplier emissions is also, they have also started taking initiative for the supplier emissions or giving guidance to the suppliers how to improve. So, uh, do you think also that this area is started becoming so important for businesses not only to control their emissions, but also control and manage their supplier emissions?
Yeah, in fact, Anand, very, very crucial, topic. And in fact,
Hmm.
that's where exactly we are also at this point of time when it comes to reflection on the next journey. So when you look at the scope one, two, three profiling for Welspun Enterprises,
Hmm.
90% and more of the emission profile actually contribution comes from scope three for us.
Hmm.
And when I say this, we also operate uh, as in a developer mode when it comes to EPC
Hmm.
contracting.
Hmm.
What does that mean is then I give the contract further for partners to then implement. Maybe civil contract is given, mechanical contract is given, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So what does that mean is then I'm not accounting for most of the carbon emissions which happen in the operations for that
Hmm.
particular project. But however, then I have to also then I cannot give away the responsibility because uh, at least 50% of the scope three also has to be targeted uh,
Yes.
going forward. Now, what so let me tell you, if you are doing everything by yourself, you have a manufacturing facility and then you have all of the controls, I
Hmm.
think things are much easy to
Yes.
then to understand because you know the operations very well. There are a set number of variables there. And then you know what are the levers for your decarbonization, sustainable material, and so on and so forth. But
Hmm.
when it comes to projects, there are a lot of variables then, and then when you have subcontractors in place. And a lot of decarbonization also happens not with fuel or, for that matter, energy. A lot of our decarbonization lies in the material.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, construction has been one sector which has worked upon the sustainable materials from the start.
Hmm.
And thanks to the thoughtfulness of NHAI and the other all government institutions that we have been working with, that those experiments were done very timely beforehand and have been functioning. So, like for example, for us, we use fly ash as substitute to that of cement.
Hmm.
And in FY 25-26 itself, we use something like 18,000 metric ton plus of fly ash.
Okay.
So what does this mean? The fly ash is the waste of the thermal power plant.
Hmm.
So what was going to be your problem in the landfill and would have gone waste
Hmm.
actually becomes the raw material for the operations. So imagine 1 metric ton of cement
Hmm.
if we have to make a virgin material for that.
Hmm.
Takes zero point 0.9 tons of carbon emissions.
Hmm.
It's a straight away math. The kind
Yes.
of carbon emissions are avoided in the process. In
Yes.
like fly ash, we have GGBS, which is
Hmm.
another material, from the steel industry. Slag is a common word that you use for.
Hmm.
So very recently, we got one award at the FICI RECEIC coalition. So it is the Resource Efficiency Circular Economy Industry Coalition, which
Hmm.
was formed at the G20, and they started this particular conference and activity where they are looking at what are the renewable materials which can be used with the industry coalitions. So
Hmm.
Somehow construction and infrastructure has been one sector which has one step ahead when it comes to this particular action. So for us, for just in 24-25, we reduced almost 50,000 tons of carbon emissions, and the
Oh,
majority came from this decarbonization lever. So for
okay.
us, now what we are doing is we are now looking at the project life cycle. We are taking that as an approach and understanding at the bidding stage gate itself
Mm,
how we can actually improve the uh, decarbonization. So that's the lever that we are looking at.
okay, great. I think this podcast would be you can say it won't be full unless we ask about impact of AI nowadays in the business and sustainability side,
Yeah,
because it's playing a huge role. So one of the thing that we are seeing when we approach most of our customer is uh, data visibility and availability of data and cleaning of data, and where we are leveraging AI a lot. What do you think are some of the use cases of AI in sustainability? And do you think is it going to play a major role in solving sustainability or making it easy in the future?
there are huge, use cases which will eventually emerge when it comes to AI and
Mm,
sustainability, and especially, because we are talking about a lot of a scope three and the value chain engagement,
mhm,
particularly there AI can play huge role, particularly for the traceability, yeah, and also the mapping and the monitoring of across the value chain.
mm,
That uh, is humanly possible only with AI and the like tools, right? Otherwise,
mm.
it is very difficult to look at the traceability part. So this is one of the major use case that I see, which will emerge beyond the analytics. Particularly in analytics, there is one more area I think which will have tremendous impact is the predictive analytics.
Yeah.
So right now, what we are looking at is only the postmortem of the ESG data.
Mhm,
But what we are now going to look at, particularly scenario planning, is something that we are missing upon as an opportunity, and particularly in the climate risk assessment. So that's one area where we have not done too much of work yet.
mm,
And we coming from infrastructure sector, it also matters a lot for us because these assets will stay even beyond our lives. Yeah. So if my life is for next whatever particular number of years, those projects are going to stay far longer than that. So the predictive analytics, particularly scenario planning in the climate risk assessment, that's also one of the key area I think will have use of AI modeling and all of this that area. Yeah.
completely agree. Completely agree. So I think would like to end this podcast with some rapid fire round, just on a lighter note,
Sure.
if that's fine with you. Just four,
Yeah.
five rapid fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So one ESG trend you think will grow massively in the next 3 years?
Of course, decarbonization and the link with the value chain,
Completely agree.
engagement with ESG. So that will continue.
Scope three, biggest opportunity or biggest headache?
Both. Yeah. So right now, even you don't know as to
Uh,
your complete universe is in terms of scope three.
yes, yes. One thing companies should stop doing in sustainability immediately.
They should stop looking at it as the reporting exercise only and
Mm,
rather look at it as the business transformation opportunity.
mm. One word that describes the future of sustainability in India.
Future of sustainability is sustainable, at least in India, with the political will supportive of it. I think there is good
Yeah,
future for sustainability, at least in India.
completely agree. So I think the vision is there. It is being executed on the ground, at the center level, state level, I think we are in the right hand in that sense. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks, Dr. Aditi. Thank you for such an insightful conversation. We got to learn, I think, a lot of nuances and nitty-gritty of how to execute whatever theories that we have learned on the ground itself, with some live examples that you have given, case studies. Once again, thank you for your time. For everyone
Thank you,
listening,
Anand.
ESG is become so we'll also, I think, send the link of the books that inspired you to start this journey to our audience. That's all from our side. Thank you. Keep following us. I think it's tough to, I think, exceed the benchmark with guests like you, but we'll try to make it more interesting in the future. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a lovely discussion. Yeah. Thank you so much. Means a lot.